There's a moment every championship-caliber team faces where reality hits harder than any linebacker ever could. When the player you thought would be the answer starts looking like the question mark, when the hot start fades into cold production, when you realize that the gap between good enough and great might be costing you everything. Right now, the Detroit Lions are staring down that exact moment, and the implications stretch far beyond the season. Stay locked in because the decisions made in the coming months could define whether we're celebrating a Super Bowl or wondering about what could have been. What's up, Lions Nation? Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, your home for breaking news, insider analysis, and everything happening with our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm bringing you the latest updates, strategic breakdowns, and the honest conversations that matter most to you as a fan. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because you need to be plugged into what's coming next for this franchise. Let me paint you a picture of where we are right now. The Lions entered this season with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. We've got one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. We've got a defense that's shown flashes of dominance. We've got a coaching staff that players run through walls for. But there's been something missing, something that's become increasingly obvious as the season has progressed. It's not effort, it's not scheme, it's not heart, it's production from a position that absolutely has to deliver if we're going to make a deep playoff run. When Hutchinson went down with that devastating leg injury earlier this season, everyone knew we had a problem. Hutch wasn't just a good player, he was our best pass rusher, our most consistent force off the edge, the guy who could single-handedly wreck an opposing quarterback's day. Losing him was a massive blow, and the entire organization knew they needed someone to step up and fill that void. The question was whether we had that player already on the roster or if we needed to make a move. The Lions made their bet. They believed they had the answer in-house. They thought Al-Quadin Muhammad could be that guy, could elevate his game from solid rotational player to legitimate starting edge rusher. And for a minute there, it looked like they might be right. Muhammad started the season hot, making plays, generating pressure, looking like exactly what we needed. The coaching staff was confident. The game plan centered around him taking on a bigger role. Everything seemed to be falling into place. But here's the brutal truth about the NFL. Hot starts don't mean anything if you can't sustain them. And as the season has worn on, as defenses have adjusted, as the competition has gotten tougher, Muhammad has started to look less like a solution and more like what he's always been throughout his career. A backup, a rotational piece, a guy who can contribute in limited snaps but struggles when asked to carry a heavier load week after week. The numbers tell part of the story, but watching the tape tells you everything. The pressure rate has dropped. The impact plays have become fewer and farther between. Offensive coordinators have stopped game planning around him because they've realized he's not the threat they initially feared. And most importantly, our pass rush as a unit has suffered dramatically as a result. We're not getting home on third downs. We're not forcing quarterbacks into bad decisions. We're not creating the chaos that championship defenses absolutely must generate. This isn't about throwing Muhammad under the bus. He's a professional who's doing everything he can. But there's a difference between trying hard and actually producing at the level required for a Super Bowl contender. The Lions thought they were set at that position, and it's becoming increasingly clear that they were wrong. That miscalculation could end up being the difference between hoisting a Lombardi trophy and watching someone else celebrate in February. So, where does this leave us? The Lions didn't make any improvements to their pass rush this season. They stood pat at the trade deadline, believing in the players they had. That decision is looking more questionable by the week. But the reality is that we're committed to this roster for the remainder of this season. Muhammad is what we have, and we're going to have to find ways to maximize his effectiveness while minimizing his limitations. The coaching staff will scheme around it, Other players will need to elevate their games. We'll make it work because that's what good organizations do. But let's talk about the future because that's where things get really interesting. The 2026 offseason is going to be critical for this franchise. We'll have decisions to make, resources to allocate, and an opportunity to address the weaknesses that have been exposed this season. The pass rush has to be at the top of that priority list. We cannot go into another season hoping that Muhammad or another backup-level player can be the answer opposite Hutchinson. We need to be aggressive. We need to find an elite talent who can genuinely change games. Now, there's a name that's starting to circulate in league circles, a player who could potentially be available and who would immediately transform our defense. I'm talking about someone who's been one of the most productive edge rushers in the entire NFL over the past several years. Someone who's stuck on a losing team that's going nowhere fast. Someone who might finally be ready to force his way to a contender. I'm talking about Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders. Crosby is everything you want in a pass rusher. He's relentless. He's technically sound. He's a leader. He's durable. He produces at an elite level year after year, regardless of who's coaching him or who's playing around him. He's exactly the type of player who could take our defense from good to great, who could be the perfect complement to Hutchinson, who could help us get over the hump and win a championship. The Raiders have turned down trade interest in Crosby for 2 years now. They rejected offers at the trade deadline in both 2024 and 2025. They've made it clear he's not available. But here's the thing, situations change. Crosby is about to play for his 4th different head coach in 4 years. He's seen just one winning season in 7 years in Las Vegas. The Raiders are a complete mess with no clear path forward. At some point, even the most loyal player starts thinking about his own career, his own legacy, his own chance to win. If Crosby requests a trade, the Raiders will likely honor that request. They respect him too much not to. They need draft capital desperately to fuel their rebuild. And they understand that holding on to a disgruntled star player who wants out isn't good for anyone. That's when the bidding war begins, and the Lions absolutely need to be at the front of that line. Now, I know we're not in a great cap situation for 2026. I know we have other needs to address. I know a trade for Crosby would likely cost us a first-round pick at minimum, possibly more. But here's my take. When you have a legitimate window to win a Super Bowl, you go all in. You don't worry about draft picks 3 years down the line. You don't nickel and dime your way to mediocrity. You identify the pieces that can put you over the top, and you do whatever it takes to get them. The Cowboys are going to be in the mix for Crosby. They've got 2 first-round picks in 2026, and their own pick is likely to be higher than ours, which makes them an attractive trade partner for the Raiders. The Eagles will be sniffing around too because Howie Roseman is always aggressive, always looking for that blockbuster move. But we have advantages that neither of those teams can match. We have a better roster. We have a better culture. We have a clearer path to winning immediately. If I'm Crosby and I'm choosing where I want to finish my career, Detroit is the obvious choice. Pairing Crosby with Hutchinson would give us one of the most fearsome pass-rushing duos in the entire league. Offensive coordinators would have nightmares trying to game plan against both of them. You can't double-team both guys. You can't slide protection to both sides. Someone is going to win their one-on-one matchup, and when that happens consistently, your entire defense elevates. Coverage gets easier because quarterbacks don't have time to go through progressions. Run defense improves because you're not getting gashed by play action. Everything gets better when you can rush the passer at an elite level. The Muhammad experiment has shown us exactly what we already knew deep down. You can't fake elite pass rush. You can't scheme your way around not having it. You can't hope that a career backup suddenly becomes a star just because you need him to be. You have to go out and get the real thing, and Crosby is as real as it gets. He's proven, he's durable, he's in his prime. He's exactly what we need. I remain optimistic about this Lions team. Regardless of how the Muhammad situation plays out this season, we're still one of the best teams in the NFC. We're still capable of making a deep playoff run. We're still building something special here in Detroit. But to take that final step, to actually win the Super Bowl that this city deserves, we need to address our weaknesses honestly and aggressively. The pass rush is a weakness, and bringing in someone like Crosby in 2026 would be the kind of bold move that championship organizations make. So here's where I want to hear from you, Lions Nation. Do you think the Lions should go all in for Max Crosby if he becomes available? Are you willing to give up a first-round pick and potentially more to land an elite pass rusher? Or would you rather see us build through the draft and develop our own players? And what about Muhammad? Do you think he can still turn it around and be a productive piece for us? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know what you're thinking about this situation. If you found this analysis valuable, if I gave you insights and perspectives you weren't getting anywhere else, then make sure you're subscribed to Lions News Fan Report. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And we're bringing you daily content covering every angle of this Lions season, from breaking news to deep strategic analysis. Share this video with your fellow Lions fans who need to understand where this franchise is headed. Let's build this community together and support our team through every challenge, every decision, every step toward that championship we've been chasing for so long. One pride, and I'll catch you in the next one.